Gotcha. All right,
Cool.
good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So he wrote the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And the theme behind the book was that you could build a team and have $1 million a year in net profit. And then he lays out the map how to get there. And what it was his map of how he built a real estate brokerage. But all the stuff in it are principles that apply to any real estate business. So an organizational model. How do I start with one person and build it up to a team of 20?
Mm-hmm.
An economic model of like, what are the things to measure inside of a real estate business?
Yeah.
Calls, contacts, things of that nature. Budget model, so that you know at each step, when I grow and I can do 3 units, 6 units, 12 units, 24 units, here's what I need at each one of those steps from an economic model, budget model, and organizational model perspective. So what we did is, when I went to my old company, they were between 12 and 15 when we started, and then we built it up to 45 a month. I had a real estate brokerage prior to that, and we were doing less volume. I was doing maybe 3 flips a month myself. And then the real estate brokerage was doing about 15 to 20 like regular real estate agent transactions. So basically what we have is we have a model to go from 0 and plug yourself in at any one of those levels as an investor, not a real estate brokerage, but as an investment company.
Mm-hmm.
And so we modeled it all out at each one of those levels. What's the personnel you need? What's a good budget model that you need? What's your economic model at any one of those levels? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and all the way up to 45. So you guys have a model. We haven't gone over it yet. It's essentially taking your goals, plugging them into where you are now, and put your people in it. And then figure out, how do I plan growth? The whole purpose of this is you have a model that you can plan growth and maintain X profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the purpose behind it, is that you can use the models to say, if I plug a person in here, it's going to cost me this, and then that's going to add to my expenses over here. But then I expect to get, 2 more transactions per month, and you just plug the numbers in and you get to look at what it does to your company.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Are you more visual, kinesthetic, or auditory, would you say?
Visual, probably.
Hold on, I gotta close out these apps. So in any of the businesses that you've been in before, have you ever had a business plan, created a business plan, something like that?
Yeah.
You ever had to do a business plan from scratch?
Yeah. Several.
Essentially this is a business plan in spreadsheets.
Okay.
Your business plan would have a marketing plan to it, right? It would have an operations plan. The difference here is this is a spreadsheet with numbers for you to follow along, and not necessarily like written, hey, here's what I'm going to do to grow the company.
Mm-hmm.
So your organizational structure is your people. Sorry, I got to move all these windows around. Your economic model is your conversions, and you can put whatever KPIs you want in here. And then, your budget model is just your P&L and your expenses, fixed expenses. Down here, we have revenue targets. And then we have our profit margin, profit targets.
Okay.
And then I put in here, have you ever heard of the profit first model?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mike Michalowicz spoke at one of the Collective Genius masterminds that Chirag and I were at. I'm not sure if he was at that one or not. But he was a member at the time. In any case, what he said, so his book says that, you know, you should put your profit first. Like, hey, I want to make, say, 80,000 net in profit. And then you're going to add in the people and expenses to get up to your total gross profit. Basically reverse engineering your business. Instead of, most of us look at it as like, well, I'm going to generate 2 million in top line revenue, and then I'm going to want to operate on a 30% net profit margin, and therefore I'm looking to make, you know, $700,000 a year. I'm trying to round off.
Right. Yeah. No, you're good.
That's why I have these spreadsheets and models, because I'm not good at math. But anyway, so he specs out, if your business is generating a real revenue range of 1 million to 5 million, that this is what the business structure should look like. You should have, you know, there's gross profit, but if your business is generating between 1 million and 5 million in gross revenue, true net profit margin is around 10%. Owner's pay is 10%. So if you're an owner operator, that's a 20% net profit margin, and you have 15% going to taxes. And then at this size of a business, he believes that your operating expenses should be running around 65%. And then this would be an efficient business. In Gary Keller's book, he's always looking for a 40% profit margin. In these models that I built, I'm always looking at 30. Like I want a 30% net profit margin. Or otherwise it's not worth me doing it, or the business just isn't efficient. So say for instance, you know, let me go out a few models here. So say you're at 20 units, and this is the people that are required for 20 units. This is the economic model that's required for 20 units. So what's cool is, you know, when Chirag was asking you, like, who do you think we need at this level? I mean, your assessment of that, as far as I know, is spot on. Of the people that you need to process a certain number of units. In any case, then this would be your budget model. And then here, you know, you're trying to get to this 31% profit margin. So again, that's 20 a month. So I don't think I need to go into the details of each position or salaries or anything like that over here in the organizational model. I think you have that pretty dialed in. The point here is you can use this as a tool. Okay. You can use it and say, see down here along the bottom, you say there's 20 units. This has been my experience at 20 units, 15 units. What were we spending in advertising? How many leads did we need? Cost per contract, gross revenue at 20,000 a transaction, closing 18 units. So you can just play around with them. They're all tied in. So if you put somebody over here, that's going to total up salaries. You're going to get a total salaries down here. And then that number is going to plug into the budget model over here.
Okay.
Be wary of what's supposed to tie together, and just double check everything, because the amount of times I've shared this, I'm sure there's some formulas that are not entirely correct.
Yeah.
And I tried to color code them. So, you know, you only need to check this number, you know, like office supplies, telephone expenses, computer expenses. I mean, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, you have an as is model in here that I had. Sorry, hold on. Snappy Home Buyer as is. Now, I don't think this is completely filled out all the way, but they did go and they put a yearly number in here.
Okay.
So this is past. That's probably, I don't know if that's 2021 or 2022. I mean, it's definitely not year end 2022. We did this, I think, at the end of the first quarter in 2022. So I'm pretty sure these are 2021 numbers here. Wouldn't hurt to go back and just pull yearly numbers and put them in here and come up with what you did for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
See here, he did plug in 2022 at the top. I think that was just for goal planning. And these are all actual numbers too. These are past performance numbers that we plugged in.
Okay.
So his average gross revenue profit in 2021 was 39,000, which is pretty phenomenal
Yeah.
in my world. So, and then his average cost per contract, 7,300, his average cost per closing. Now, this was him adding in, he added in some of his own metrics down here. He
Mhm.
wanted to know, he put a note in here that's Penny's salary, Stephanie and Caitlin were in that cost per closing.
Yeah.
He wanted to know outside of marketing costs only, what else was I paying for to get a closing? So he
Mhm.
had those up. I thought that was pretty good. At the time, your people resources are all over here and plugged in. So those were, he went ahead and filled all this out. We did this. Again, I'm not sure if these tie out, but when you look at, when we talk about profit margin, we're talking, excuse me, we're talking net profit after his salary, right? And it's divided by gross revenue. So this is after sales commissions as well. So a lot of people take sales commissions off the top. So for instance, if I look at Mike McCallotz's real revenue model, he's
Mhm.
saying that this real revenue is after sales commissions.
Mhm.
He's saying that that's in your cost of sale and real revenue is after your cost of sale.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you, did you oversee P&Ls in prior jobs before?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Chirag's P&L at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it clear to you how it was laid out, or did you have questions about what was where?
No, it's clear. I'm working on it right now.
Okay. All right.
Other this business model, let me ask you really quick. The one you were showing me, it's monthly, but this one they did yearly. The as is they did yearly, but yours was monthly. Is that
Monthly
right?
target. Yep.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure on that.
Yeah, it starts out here at 5 units. You see that here.
Mm-hmm.
On a $15,000 marketing spend. And there's people resources over here. You at 5 units, gross revenue targets would be around 100,000 a month. And then sure why there's 8 here when there's only 5 above. But yeah, I would I would play with, look down the sheet. I think you're smart enough to plug the right numbers in. Just make sure that they all tie into each other. What you're really looking for is what's colored. The rest of this stuff should be standard. So is this the right number of people in labor? Come over here. And again, you're looking at what's the target?
Mm-hmm.
5 units per month. Okay, great. How many people, what people do I need at that level? Or right now, it's the people that you have.
Right.
Plug them in over here. Come over to the monthly target. How much are we spending? What are in marketing? And then how much are we spending monthly? And then this target should match what your economic model says is your revenue target. So let's just say we do 5 wholesales and 0 fix and flip. You have a total gross revenue of 100,000. This shows 82,000 in expenses, which would not be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all jacked up actually, because this has 23,000 in admin labor. So then I come over here. That's why. There's a bunch of salaries in here that shouldn't be in here. So it's a model. You can drive it. It's not, yours is not filled out correctly. It's gotten messed up somewhere along the way. And there's 60. Oh, it looks like somebody made a copy at 5 units. 12 units. That looks a little more accurate because 12 units is where the model starts to compress and your margin starts to compress because you're trying to grow from 10 to 15 and you're spending 40,000 in marketing and so on and so forth. This looks correct. The 15 units, it says 15 at the bottom here. There's 18 plugged in at the top. 161 a month in expenses. 29% profit margin. So this looks correct. You have 15 units here. So this model looks like it wasn't disrupted. Let me ask you, do you know where you were at your old place? What was your top line revenue, expenses, profit margin, number of deals?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I've put most of that out of my head by now. I'll have to see if I can think of it.
Okay.
But off the top of my head, I don't know.
Well, so what I always share with folks is this is like Play-Doh. It's like clay, right? It's not set in stone. We didn't put it in the oven and, it's set. It's actually something we have to mold. The idea is to mold it so that you have a 30% profit margin from your net profit to your gross revenue. If you can do that, then like the plan is solid.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to mess around with it a little bit now and plug some of your ideas into it and see what we come up with?
You could share it with me and I can do that.
Play with it? Okay.
Play around with it and then
Sure.
we can look at it on another call if you want. That would.
Yeah, for sure. I think the idea would be because a lot of this came out of our conversation about, are these goals realistic?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If we go and do this, where are we going to be at the end of the year? Because it sounds like you had the same conversation with Chirag that I did, which is you have to phase into this, right? So we have to be aware that when we get to the end of the year, we're either ramping up to get to goal or we may fall a little short because the first 2 quarters were short.
Right.
We have to build into it. So then the question after that is, well, as we build into it and we phase into these next levels, like how do we know when to hire? How do we know what resources we're going to use? And then how do we know how that's going to play into the bottom line and profit margins?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we got here. And I think if we just come up with, first, make sure that what you're currently doing, what your current goals are, is that a good model or are we in trouble somewhere?
Right.
And then, so there's always the as is model. And then I would suggest doing one for the end of the year. So, hey, if we hit these goals at the end of the year, I'm going to need these people. And so at the end of the year, if I'm at that goal and I hire these people, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So try to do an as is and try to do a 1 year. If you can do that, and I think you'll be golden. It'll shed light on quite a few things. And if you're visual, and I know Chirag is, you get to see it, the whole thing laid out. So since we're on a recording, let me just go ahead and let me put one of these back together so that you can see me do it.
Okay.
And that way, if there's anything that I don't agree with that I'm handing over to you, I can flush it out now and We get a small short exercise here.
Okay.
So I would say that this is good. What level? Hold on one second. You have a 60, 12 units. This is the one that's most different because I've never done this or this. But wait, if that's yours, I don't want to delete it. Okay, I got it. I'm going to go to this one. I'm just going to rename it example. No, wait. He has a 90-day average on this one. I'm guessing these are his.
Mm,
I don't want to mess his up.
yeah.
Where do you want to be at the end of the year? What's your goal per month?
For what?
How many transactions per month do you want to be doing by the end of the year?
Per month? Let me look and see. Seven?
Okay, cool. Let's make a copy and let's do 7. All right, so it's 7 units. Let's do the economic model first. So about how many leads do we think we'll need at 7 units?
A month?
Yep.
I would say probably around 450. I would think.
All right, so the cool thing about this sheet is we can just plug numbers in and then it just kind of runs the numbers for us. Do you think you're around 180 a lead?
Oh, I have no idea what we're spending right now per lead. I know it's pretty high. I was looking at it. That's on my list.
All right, we're gonna do this. Which current marketing budget, 10, 12, 15?
That's
So I'm not expecting you to know any of these answers, by the way. I'm just, if you don't, I'm just gonna ballpark it, and from what I think I recall, because I don't know specifically either.
yeah, I think it's 15 a month. I think.
Okay. So, which would be perfect. You're getting about 5 contracts, 3,000 a contract. So, let's do this.
I'm gonna pull up the P&L too, just in case.
Yep. So $15,000 a month at 180 a lead is 75 leads per month. If
Mhm.
we're scheduling appointments with 45% of those leads, that's 34 appointments. We're taking appointments with 75% of the ones that are scheduled. You have cancellations, reschedules, and then some just are flat out listing appointments. So we have 25 solid cash offer appointments. We convert those at a 20% rate. We're saying we're going to buy 1 in 5 of our cash offer appointments. These are in-person appointments, so it should be 20%. So we're going to get 5 contracts. All I did was I changed the advertising budget to 15 and the rest of this filled out.
Okay.
Now, your experience is quite different than Chirag and I's experience. We're used to scheduling in person, going out, buying in person, maybe a little bit of phone, no JV relationships, no, I mean, I've had referrals in the past, but it was never a marketing channel, right? To plug into these kind of conversions. So we've primarily had to rely on straight up marketing and advertising and the phone ringing, or you're texting and cold calling outbound as well. But anyway, the point is that these are, 45% is an average overall lead sources. Inbound, outbound, mail's higher, internet leads are lower. Appointments taken, 75%. Like, again, some lead sources, you have high cancellation rates. Other lead sources are high appointment taken rates. So cancellations, reschedules, and listing appointments I already mentioned. So there's a lot that's baked into these conversion percentages, is what I'm saying. Okay. When we look at cost per lead, we have some online lead sources that are $300 a lead. We have mail lead sources that are $80 a lead. So it's a combination. 180 is a combination of all leads. So any case, when we get down here, we say that, hey, we're not going to close on all of our properties, but we hope that we close 90% of them. It's just another reminder that you need a conversion rate in there because you will release or lose some contracts. It's not a done deal when we put it under agreement.
Right.
Gross revenue, 20 per transaction. So we're looking at about 91,000 in gross revenue. So this is pretty close to where you're at, I think. And then the key here would be, do I have, is this all correct? So do you have a director of fixed operations? Can we put your salary in there? Actually, we have a COO spot at the bottom. I'll put it in down there.
Okay.
Okay. So we're taking that out. Is there an executive assistant in operations?
No.
How much is our project manager costing us? Is that around 700 a month or something?
Let me look, because I do not know his pay either. Okay. The way they do our payroll right now is kind of weird.
Well, as you're doing it, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, we have Snappy, Quest. I think that's it. Is it just the two? But like Love, I think, is Build to Quest. I think at one time Penny was Build to Quest. Like it was all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's gonna make it hard for you to figure all this stuff out. And say it's black and white.
Right. That's why I was like, just share it with me.
It's going to be hard. We're just going to have to fill it out as a conceptual model at this point. We do know that Keith is a project manager and out of this model, he's getting paid. So
yeah, it looks like to be around that $700 a month. That we talked about just a second ago. I'm looking to make sure he's not in any other categories on the P&L. Yeah, we paid him $375 for one and $250 for another. His pay is kind of fluctuating though, because it really depends on where he goes and how many visits he makes,
So let's start up there. I feel comfortable at 1,000 a month.
Yeah. Okay.
Executive assistant for director of fixed ops. You want to call that Penny for now?
Sure. She's
Executive assistant, project manager,
she's moving to project management.
Okay.
Um,
weekly or monthly salary.
she gets every 2 weeks. Same as everybody else. Let's see. Where is she at?
I think she's at 50 grand a year,
I think so.
4,000 a month.
Yeah.
You want to plug any virtual assistants and operations in here?
No, not in operation.
Okay. Anybody getting cell phone reimbursements?
Yeah, not reimbursements, but we have a cell phone bill, which is like $200 a month. For people that do have cell phones.
Cars, anybody? Actually, I have that over on the budget model. All right, so then we have, these are executive assistants to CEO, COO, director of lead management.
We don't have a director of lead management.
Outside sales. Director of financing. Do you want to put Abby in here?
Yeah, we have Abby and then we have Sarah. So we have a bookkeeper and then we have Sarah.
I'm just going to take the title out and just put her name in.
Okay.
What's Sarah at monthly?
She is at about 1,200 a month.
Wow. Okay.
Give or take.
And then Abby.
Let me look at Abby. I need to find hers.
Now here again, I mean, Abby is working for 2 companies. She probably does more on the Quest side than the Snappy side. So in the future, if that's me, I'm splitting her salary between the 2 companies in the model.
Yeah.
Not a full-time employee in this model. So that's just for reference. So where do you think she's at?
I am looking right now. She is not on here. Let's see. Let's see. I gotta drill down on one of these and see if she split it out. She does not split it out. She has for her and another person, it's about $800 a month. So
It's all good. We captured it. Leads manager. So you have, oh, why am I drawing a blank? Caitlin.
Caitlin makes, let me pull it up again. 32 a year. That doesn't include her bonuses.
So bonuses are up to you.
Yeah.
So 30, meaning like I oftentimes have them over in cost of sale. I try to keep them out of labor expenses just because they're tied to the sale itself and not tied to hourly. That's up to you. But even that being said, my current finance leader, she still categorizes it as, I'll let her go. She had a good argument, but she categorizes it in fixed expenses. So like my guy who's made, my ISA, my caller, he's making $12 an hour, but then he gets paid $25 an appointment and $200 a closing. So the $25 an appointment, $200 a closing, I mean, they're production based, and they fluctuate with number of appointments and number of closings that we have. So, which then fluctuates my P&L, but it's one guy and it's a little bit of money, so it's not a lot. So I didn't sweat it. But the reality is that, yeah, I want that cost of sale associated and tied to the actual revenue that comes in from it, because it's cost of sale. So now I look at the P&L and it's like, hey, Dom got paid, $2,000 this month and $4,000 this month. And so what I'm looking at is I want the fixed expenses. It's going up and down by $2,000. And, that's the only difference. Otherwise, you're still making the same amount of profit. It's just, what do you want to see on the P&L, and how rigid are you going to be in saying this is budget versus actual? Because I have a budget for salaries, and now his fluctuation on cost of sale is messing with my budget. So, again, totally up to you where you categorize it. I would suggest as the team gets bigger, bonuses and stuff, you start associating them with the property and up in cost of sale.
Yeah.
Um,
So she's 2,600.
Thank you.
And then we have Becca, who is another lead manager, and she is 30. Divided by 12 is 2,500.
Nice. Becca.
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 Got it. Okay.
Then we have Elaine. Who is, let me look. Elaine is our cold caller.
Okay.
Look at what her payroll is normally.
Subcontractor.
Yeah, she's under temp labor, but
I gotcha. Yeah, that's where I threw her down there.
hers is 525
a month.
Yeah.
Nice. How's she doing?
She's good.
I only ask because I have to get rid of all three of mine.
Oh no, really? That stings.
We really held on as long as we could. We gave them all the training. We brought them in for more weekly training,
Really?
daily recordings. They're not going to make it, unfortunately. All right.
And then we have Clifton, who is like the marketing assistant.
Okay.
And he is making, his fluctuates, but we could just put in 560. Sometimes he makes more, sometimes he makes less.
Awesome. How about TC?
We have Jade. Who gets, let me see. $612
a month?
No, hers fluctuates too. Hold on, let me do, because 1 month she got 9. 1 month she got 8. Let's see, we could probably put in for her. Let's put in 750. just to be
Oops.
on the safe side.
Okay. So we got Sarah, Jade, Clifton, Abby, Caitlin, Becca.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
the property manager, but I don't think we're gonna track her here.
I'd leave her out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So then let me just go back to the top and double check. Be sure I don't leave anybody in that shouldn't be in here.
Did we put Elaine on here? We did. didn't
Yes. Yep.
we? Okay.
So I have Keith, Penny, some cell phone bills, and then the list I just read off: Sarah, Jade, Clifton, Abby, Caitlin, Becca. Then when I get down into producers commissions, these are acquisition agents and C-level employees. So Sherrod gets a salary, I'm guessing, I think it's around 7. Maybe less.
Let me look and see again. Let's see what his is. 105 per year. Is what he set in for Gusto. So 8.
Okay. Acquisition agent salaries.
Acquisition manager salaries. They are, sorry,
As long as I'm allowed to laugh about it.
I have to like keep them all straight in my head, okay? That's
I'm
a
with
thing.
you. All right, I'll modify.
They
Yes.
are getting a salary of. Well, they're getting salary and bonuses. They get a lot of bonuses, but their salary is 20,000 per year. So it's 1,600.
For both, wait. 1,600 for each.
For each.
Okay. Let's do. All right, so here's how I look at this. I mean, now these are true base salaries, so their bonuses would definitely go up in cost of sale. Our guy, and everybody's going to be different. Our guys are paid a salary advance against their commissions. So my guys are 100% commissions, but they get 10% of net profit, like revenue of the deal. So if we make 20 grand, they get 2 grand. But I'm moving that whole entire $2,000 and their salary. So long as they may draw, I'm moving all that up into cost of sale at the end of the month. So I don't include that in the budget expenses. I include it over in cost of sale.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, and it's because I want to match these numbers up here with Mike McCallich's model. Okay. So I have their sales commissions here. I don't have them up here in the budget. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense. Now, what I do put over here, I do put acquisition salaries or training salaries in here because I know that I'm going to have to continue to hire acquisition agents. I know that if we run the company well, we're always top grading salespeople and we're bringing in new talent. So I'm always going to have a bill here. I'm always going to have to pay something here. That's not going to get to go up in cost of sale because I'm hiring somebody new. I'm training them. They're on a salary and they're not producing yet. So I'll put a budget line item here for that. And I want over here, I still want to count what sales commissions I'm paying them to look at my model. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like counting it twice.
They get a training model, or they get a training bonus right now of 2,000. But that's only for the first 3 months.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. So this is a base that they'll continue with, right?
Mhm.
It's always going to be there.
Right.
And that's why we're going to count it here. And then no, you're paying you can adjust that sales commissions to match what you're paying in bonuses over on the sales.
Okay.
So we'll get to that here in a second. All right. And then does this match close to, or is that, do you want to put your salary in here?
Me? Oh,
Yes.
no, that's not me. I get around, not including my bonus, just my base salary, right? Or do you
The
want
base.
my
Yep.
bonus? Okay. I get 5.
All right. So now we have a total. Let's just check the totals real quick. Yep, we got those. Temp labor. Admin labor. Total for labor. All right, so I'm going to go over to our budget model. We're just going to make sure that they all tied together. So we got total labor. 5240, 6240. All right, I do include some 5-week months here. Do you guys do you do cash basis accounting or accrual accounting? Do you know that? Okay. So you could combine these and use an average if you want. Either way, it's going to flush out in the bottom here. So I'm not worried about that. Do you happen to know what your interest expenses are monthly? Do you pay to borrow money outside of your hard money loans on the property? Do you have any unsecured debt that you use to run the business?
Let me see if I can't find it. Let me see what I'm looking at here. For the whole year, it was 589.80.
589.80.
Mhm.
That's a yearly amount you spent in interest expenses?
That is just for, looks like a loan for SBA. Let me see what else I can find in here. I'll have to dig in that more because I'll have to see how she puts that on here.
Well, it's bright yellow. It's $7,500 budget a month would be if you borrowed $1 million at 7.5% interest rate, just roughly.
Right.
Okay.
I know
So
we have private money lenders, and then we have an anchor bank and different things like that we use, and we get different interest rates with them.
So interest that's associated with the property itself will get tied to the property in
Okay.
cost of goods, above the revenue line in cost of goods, because it can be associated with the property. So this would only be interest that you borrowed to run the business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, like hard money lender, let's say you guys use Lima One, I think is one of your lenders. That's one of our lenders. They require us to put 10% down on the purchase price of the property. So we have to, every time we buy a property, we have to put 10% out of our cash account into the purchase price of the property. Well, when we have 17 in reno and it's like, $4 million in real estate, it's 400 grand. So we borrow that 400 grand from somebody, and then we put that interest expense on the 400 grand here and fixed expenses on the P&L. I don't think Chirag is doing all of that. I think he's doing straight, but it would be a good question for him, because if it's, 500 to $1 million, it becomes a big number on your P&L.
Mhm.
Just keep in mind that it's not the interest associated with the property, it's interest on money you borrowed to run the business. Okay. Cool. Insurance, you can just double check some of these other fees, professional fees, legal accounting, professional fees is like masterminds and licenses and things like that.
Yeah.
Legal and accounting fees, office rent, double check this admin labor.
Okay.
So I'm going to come over here. 8410, and that looks right. So 8410 is right. You have temp labor, 525. Payroll taxes is a calculation. I think we did 20. This says 20%.
Okay.
So just keep in mind that it's going to fluctuate.
Mhm.
Employee health insurance, you can take that out if you're not offering a payroll processing fee and so on and so forth. Now down here is your producer commissions, 16,950. So we're just double check that. Yep, that's right. And then we say that there's money in there for travel expenses, and 82 grand is about where we end up in monthly expenses. So there's 4 5-week months in a year, 8 4-week months in a year, and then you're just totaling those two up.
Okay.
Okay. If you do accrual accounting, even when we do ours, like at the end of the year, then in December, it flushes out all those, the excess of how the pay periods get divided up, and you're paying basically an extra pay period at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Either way, all that averages out to $83,388 a month. Now that's with $7,500 in interest expenses. And then we said that we were doing 5 a month for a gross revenue of 91,125. So now that was at an average profit margin of 20. And I think you guys are doing much better than that. So you're going to want to look. Do you mind if I just turn these yellow so that like from
Yeah,
here
that's
what we would want to verify?
Yeah.
So you're going to verify that, and that's going to up this number. For now, I'm just going to plug 5 in here. Well, here, you guys are doing 5 retail. So take that out, take that out. Then in sales commissions, I have here 17%. You can put your own formula in here. For us, that's 10% to an acquisition agent. Here, I'll write some of this down. Acquisition manager.
Mhm.
5% to our wholesale dispo agent. Anywhere you can cut these down. We're now at $750 a deal instead of 5%. So we've saved money there. But again, this is a model. And then 2 to 3% override for a director of acquisitions. That's our cost of sale. Now, obviously, you don't use all of that right now. You don't have all these people, and you're not paying this much for an acquisitions manager.
Mhm.
So you're going to want to come up with your own number here for a model that matches what you're doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'll color that one yellow. And that one yellow. My yellow drives people nuts, but at least you know where you need to pick up with. And we know our discrepancies right now. But anyway, if you were to take out, I'm just going to go like this. You don't have those, you're currently operating around a 17% profit margin. Obviously, what's going to fix that the most is when you change this to a 7 and you haven't changed any of your other expenses, and now you're operating at a 40% profit margin. Sound good?
Yep.
It's early, I mean, you guys you're feeling the wedge right now, and you will, but look how simple it is for you get these acquisition agents rolling like overnight. You're at a 40% profit margin. When you hit that profit margin number, now you can start reinvesting into the business and growing it either through more marketing and more leads or more acquisition agents, or I don't know that you need more people right now, but eventually you will, right?
Yeah.
So you see how it works?
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then let me get you real quick before I let you go. So this is that table I was telling you about that Mike McAllowitz had that shows us the real revenue range and then what the profit margins and operating expense ranges should be.
Okay.
Each one of those revenue ranges across the top here. So I'm just going to paste that down in your model here.
Okay.
And that way you just have it there for reference. Hold on a second. Hopefully that works.
Did you copy it? I didn't see you copy it. Maybe you did.
No. Here, how about this? How about I just share this one with you?
Take out the S. I finally figured out why I wasn't getting any of the stuff you were sharing with me.
What else well, if you can make me a list or, let me know what else you're missing and I'll resend stuff. That's disappointing.
No, I think I got everything because I just requested it from you in text. But I was like, I never got that.
I'll have to save that in my contacts. Sweet. You are set, my friend. Sorry to keep you late.
No, you're fine. No big deal. Thank you so much for showing
sure.
this and working through it with me. That was awesome.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day. Let me know if you need anything else.
I will. Thank you so much.
See you, Andrew.
Bye.